Hey everybody, I'm back. This is now my PvP setup for the Frost Warden. Another one bar build setup. This was something that I asked around about, trying to figure out, can I do a one bar build with my idea of our Frostygon build that you probably looked at in the other recent video. I got some wonderful help, especially from Ness ESO and his community, and ask you about it. And that was the video that I made a few months ago. But now, just like I did with the PvE build, this is now kind of a more concise and up to date with all the description down below of what I've got going on for the PvP build for this. And we did come up with a wonderful one bar PvP setup. And the reason why I wanted to try to find a PvP setup, a one bar build PvP setup, is because PvP's scary. For us that do it, I always call it do it professionally, meaning that we don't do it every day, for most of our time. It's a scary place in there. So it's really hard to kind of keep track of everything. You don't know exactly what you're doing. You're flipping between two bars. There's the recommended always have a restoration, staff in your back bar and then the front bar and switching and you're dead. Or you won't do any kind of changes to your PvE build, and you go along and boom, you get hit by a sniper that does a lot of damage or something, and you're dead. So I wanted to put together a build that, hey, might not be the best build for PvP, but you know me, I love my dad builds. Easy to put together, or relatively so. This was a little harder. But I do have some options for you. And have it so that you're not dying in like 1 second. I think my greatest achievement in this is when I had like 2 or 3 or 4 people trying to take me out, and it took them a while. Because you're always going to PvP going to be taken out by groups of people if it's you just against that, unless you're one of these pros like Nesses and other people and Pain the Axe and other wonderful PvPers out there. So here's a build that goes along with the Frostygon build. So once you get the Frostygon PvE going on, if you want to get this all set up so that you can do a little bit of PvP, especially during the times where we have, the wonderful PvP events, which hopefully we'll have more of, you've got something in there. So let's do like what we did before. Let's go through the combat metrics. All right. So in the combat metrics, I'll go over the skills later. Let's go over the gear. That's kind of the big thing that people are looking at. All right. So what we're doing, because one bar, we're using the Master's Perfected Ice Staff. And in the description below, I just say the Master's Ice Staff. This comes out of Dragon Star Arena. All right. You can do it on normal to get the gear that you want. If you're not familiar with it, Dragon Star Arena is a 4-person arena, but you can go in there with just 2 people and a couple of companions on normal. And actually, it's a good way to level to get something in. At the very end of the arena, in a chest, you have a chance of getting a bit of gear in there, and getting a weapon. And so you're going to be trying to get the Master's Ice Staff. And why we're doing this is because if you look down with all the different things that are on here, it says reduces the cost of destructive touch by 10% and increases your weapon and spell damage by 600 for 4 seconds after activating it. So we are going to be using a destructive touch ability. I'll talk about that, or skill, and I'll talk about that. And so we want this staff that's going to accentuate that, and it gives a whole bunch of spell damage in the process in there. If you look on there, I've got it charged with a frost damage, frost weapon enchant on there. And if you're wondering, okay, the only difference between the Master's regular and the perfected is that first of the 2 item lines versus 2 perfected items that adds a little bit more, 103 more weapon and spell damage, which is not going to be that much. We're going to be increasing it by 600 anyway. So we're going to have plenty of power with this build in there. Again, it's not so much of, in PvP as having the most powers that you can survive a few hits in there and keep yourself alive to do more damage. So this works out just right for us. So that's going to be our staff of choice. The next one is going to be Nunatak. Now, I've I've loved this since this was announced way back in, I don't even know when this first came out in there, but I loved it. Little tricky to get, but a lot of fun. It is a, well, let me tell you what it is first. In there, it says, on dealing frost damage, create a 6-meter area under the target for 6 seconds, dealing 916 frost damage to the enemies every 1 second, and applying a stacking 25% snare for 4 seconds. On gaining 4 stacks, the enemy will be immobilized and gains minor brittle for 4 seconds, causing the target to take 20% increased crit damage. This effect can occur once every 15 seconds and scales off the higher of your weapon and spells. I love this. It just slows everybody down in PvP. It's kind of like, hold your horses, everybody. You know, Frostygon's coming through. It's like, settle down now, settle down. All right. Everybody starts going in slow motion, trying to dodge roll out of it. You start hitting them with all your skills and stuff. It's great. You know, it's like, I always say, it's battling in this, especially in Battlegrounds, it's like being in the Matrix. Everybody slows down. You got time to do things and stuff. It's a great set. Little hard to get. Little hard to get. There's 2 ways of getting it. You can go into Imperial City and kill Nunatak and get it, or you can collect the keys. When you do anything in Imperial City, either in the PvP or PvE dungeons, what happens is that you get access to these keys. Or fragments of keys. And the fragments of keys, if you go visit a certain vault, which yours is going to be the one you want to visit, is the Bone Shard Trophy Vault. All right, when you go into there, and you got to be careful, because I think it's like, I'm forgetting how many. I think it's like 60 fragments create 1 key. You'll have to look that up. I'm not sure with that one. I want to say 60. And when you go in there, whatever fragments you have on you instantly turn into those keys. So if you want to have those fragments for another, trophy vault for something else that you're going for, don't bring all the key fragments in there with you. So just a little word to the wise in there, because whatever trophy vault you walk into, they instantly become those keys that you need to open up a chest in there. And the chest has a chance to give you gear, especially the Nunatak helm. All right. Now, that might have sounded like, oh, is that the hard part? Well, kind of. The harder part is the shoulders, especially for us who don't PvP a lot. One of the currencies in PvP, all right, is AP, alliance points that you can get. All right, and these alliance points, once you have 20 of them, you can go see a vendor in the Imperial City sewers. And you can go in there, and there's a chest that you can buy that has a chance of getting you the shoulder that you need of Nunatak. And there's only a chance, though. So if you don't have a lot of alliance points, it's going to be kind of tricky for you to get. So it might take some time. So that's why I've also put down in the description the option with something that's much easier to get is Iceheart. All right, so Iceheart, which comes out of Dire Frost Keep, wonderful. It's my favorite dungeon to this day. You go in there, you'll get the helm off of the last boss on Veteran, and then by doing the Undaunted dailies, you will collect keys. This is these keys over here, these Undaunted keys, and what you go is that you go to the specific. I think it's the Wood Elf. I'm forgetting his name right now. You go to him, and there is a coffer that you can either get Troll King, or you could get Iceheart in it. So it's still a chance. It's still a little bit of a gamble to get the right shoulders in the in the right either light, medium, or heavy in there. But it's a lot easier, I feel, than the PvP in it, especially if you don't PvP very much. So, but if you do PvP, like a lot of lives of points and everything like that, and you got a bunch of key fragments, it's not too hard to get. So that's it for your monster set. And with the PvP, we do get a full monster helm and shoulder set, which is kind of nice. We didn't have that in the PvE. So, all right, let's go back. So that gives our Nunatak in there. If you notice, we've got a different trait on here. We've got it in Impenetrable, because Impenetrable increases our crit resistance by 127 for this item and takes 50% less durability damage. The durability damage isn't that kind of big, but the crit resistance is the big thing, because that's what people stack and try to get for your when you're in PvP to be able to burn you down quickly. If you look in your character sheet in here, the thing you're always looking at is crit resistance. Critical resistance is what you're trying to build up against people in PvP. So that's kind of the PvP stat in there. If you don't have any critical resistance in there, you're kind of like tissue paper, and that's why they can burn you down so quick. So we are actually going to put on Impenetrable. So for a lot of our stuff. So Nunatak. And then for our other set, other than the, well, let me talk about the set. The other set is Ice Furnace. Guess where Ice Furnace comes out of? Yeah, you guessed it, Dire Frost. We love Dire Frost. So here, if you do Dire Frost Keep, one of my favorite dungeons to do, you're going to get chances to get your Ice Heart Helm, and you're going to have to get your Ice Furnace in here. Ice Furnace is a heavy set, which is fantastic. Oh, I might have said for Nunatak, make sure to get it in the medium. Where my PvE set was 1 medium and the rest light, this one's going to be the 2 medium for the monster set, and the rest comes in heavy for Ice Furnace. All right? So Ice Furnace, we're going to bulk ourselves up a little bit, be a little bit harder to kill in here. We're still going to have max Magicka for our enchant, but on our chest piece, it's going to be reinforced, so they get even a little bit more armor, so we're a little bit tankier, and the rest are going to be in Impenetrable. What this one does is that it gives us plus to maximum Magicka, to crit chance, and to spell damage. But then when you deal frost damage, you deal an additional 1205 flame damage. I like it. Freeze them and fry them. To all enemies within 8 meters around the initial target. This effect can occur once every 1 second and scales off the higher of your weapon or spell damage. It's going to be spell damage for us. So really kind of a cool thing. Again, fitting our theme of wanting to have a Frostygon PvP. All this frost. It's so good. So nice heavy set. Keep us bulked up. Gives us a little bit of extra damage while we're doing stuff, which is wonderful. Now, we still have the issue that Oakensoul is going to be one of our rings. So we can't do another full set going on. So what I've chosen is the Trainee set. Trainee set is the basic set you get in like the beginning areas, and you can buy it off the traders. So you can go on through here, and it's pretty easy to pick up and pretty cheap to pick up as well. So you can reconstruct it yourself pretty easily. And you don't even need to gold it out. You can just have it in purple. So spell damage enchant with Infused, not the Bloodthirsty. We want as high a spell damage as we can get with this build. So I have it in the necklace and the ring, and then Oakensoul. You could have gone with the spell damage, but one of the things that you find out in PvP is that your resource management is kind of your Achilles heel in it. If you're out of resources, that's usually when you're going to die from another player. So you've got to watch your resources. So anything that you can get to resources back, Magicka recovery, health recovery, stamina recovery is there. So the multi-effect enchant is the one that I choose. I still did it in Infused so that that number goes up. So the effectiveness by 60%. So that 134 is much higher. So yeah. Wonderful. Oh, and remember, once you got Oakensoul Ring for the PvE, you can reconstruct it fairly easily through the transmute station, with doing the sets and stuff. Mythics, if you've got the materials, are actually one of the easiest ones to reconstruct. So it's really great. So you can make as many Oakensoul Rings as you want for any of your characters. So, all right. So that is all of our gear, and there I gave you the option of Ice Heart. You can use that Ice Heart until you get Nunatak if that's what you want to go through, but Ice Heart's very good for doing that. So that gives us all of that. Let's see, going through my description down below. Next thing is the CP. CP's going to change up a little bit. Still all the passives in there, green, whatever you want, in there. That's not going to change a whole lot. We're going to have Wrathful Strikes is going to be back. But now we're going to get Focused Mending. Increases your healing done on a single target. Heals for 2% per stage, so 10% total. Master Arms is back. And Ironclad is back. And those are actually in different locations. Let me show you the locations of these. So this is that button. So we know our Wrathful Strikes. It's over here. We know our Master of Arms, which is over here. But then over in here, so you're going to have to put some points down into to over in here so that you can get to the Focus Mending tree and that. And the Ironclad one is in the center. So go into the center, go and grab the Ironclad, which is off here to the top right over here. So that's going to be that. So reduces the damage taken by direct damage attacks by 6%. So a nice little damage reduction for us. So a little bit of heal, a little bit of damage reduction. Remember, we're not trying to do a DPS parse. This is not what PvP is about. And there you want to be able to survive and still do some damage and heal yourself. You got to have everything all into one when you do this. So then for our fitness tree in there, we're going to have Celerity, which I talked about before, which is over here, which is giving us our speed. We want to be able to run fast in PvP, run away fast in PvP. The other thing that we're going to have, Survival Instincts over here. So basically, while afflicted with a status effect, your core combat skills cost 5% less. So yeah, so if you've got a little status effect on you, they put on a buff, debuff on you, your stuff is going to cost less. Again, we want to have good resource management, and so that's important. The next one, Pain's Refuge. Pain's Refuge is in this purple one. Go one deeper in there. So we're going to have Pain's Refuge. I always think of Pain in the Axe with this one. I'm just like, it's Pain's Refuge. This is where he goes to hide out. Reduces your damage taken by 2% for every 2 negative effect active on you, up to a maximum of 20%. This is great. This is for like if somebody tries to dot you up with a whole lot of stuff, with all these negative effects in here, you're going to be able to counteract that. So that's really kind of nice. And then Sustained by Suffering, or the last one, increase your health, Magicka, and stamina recovery by 30 per stage. So if that's 150 when you've got the full thing up. So again, this stuff to get recovery back, sustainability, keeping yourself alive, keeping yourself healed while still doing some damage and being a little tanky. You've got to have that balance within there. A lot of us who are DPS and just have, these glass cannon builds for parses, that doesn't work in PvP. That's why a lot of the times PvEers will have trouble in PvP because they go in there with those builds and then they get, 1 shot or 2 shots and they're like, oh my gosh, I hate PvP. Well, you gotta kind of build your stuff for PvP so that it works. You gotta kind of, know the underlying rules of what's going on. So, all right. So that gets us all the way through that. The race, I'm sorry, I hate you, sir. Oh, I didn't, okay, good. I was just kidding, sir. Race, I love the Khajiit. Everybody has their favorites, but you do whatever you like. The attributes, I have everything in the Magicka. All right. The Mundus that I use is the Atronach. Again, I like it. Increases your Magicka recovery by 310. All about the resources. The food is going to be a little bit different. The food is the Jewels of Misrule. Let's take a little peek at that. Jewels of Misrule, which you actually get during the Jester's Festival. And I'm putting this out before Jester Festival comes out, I think later in the month, I think. And I'm recording this in March. So yeah, and you'll see the recipes and stuff like that, but you can get the recipes during that one in there. Increases your stamina, Magicka recovery by 357, and your max health. So that's going to give us some more health, and it's going to give us recovery in our 2 major recovery things that we want: our stamina for running around and blocking, and dodge rolling, and our Magicka, of course, for our skills. The potions. Oh my gosh, you were wondering what you were going to do with all those monthly rewards of those Crown Tri-Restoration potions. Everybody says there's nothing good in any of the monthly stuff. Oh my gosh, I am flush with all of these. Do we have some this month? Yeah, we have some this month. Yeah, we're going to have it twice in there. So that's going to keep you very well stocked from month to month in there. You can get the regular ones. You can make them yourself, but these we get for free, and these are really good. So restore 10,000 health, basically, 7,500 Magicka, and 7,500 stamina immediately. Grant you all the major fortitudes, major intellect, major endurance, all the major stuff, and recoveries and everything like that. We love it. It's a great, great potion for PvP. There we go. All right, next thing that we're going to be looking at is our skills. Our skills are going to change up, and we've got a couple of old favorites on here too. Basically, you want to escape. You want your Deceptive Predator. This is the wings that come out that help you run a little bit faster, but also it's going to invoke the Spirit of Agility to gain major expedition, increasing your movement speed by 30%, but gain immunity to the snare and immobilization for 4 seconds. While slotted, you gain minor evasion, reducing damage from the area attacks by 10%. So if you're running around and somebody throws down a whole bunch of dots in there and you're stunned, boom, you hit this, you're out of the stun, you're running out of it, you're good to go. The other morph of this one gives you some extra damage. But remember, we're not looking for extra damage here. I'd rather have that I stay alive with that little bit of minor evasion and get out of the hot spots. So the next one is going to be Frost Clench. This is the one that our staff was really helping us out with. This is the Destructive Touch morph in there. So Frost Clench. Let me show you where you get that. And actually, I'll also show you with the Animal Companions. It's the very last one. Where the PvE one was a little bit easier. You get everything under 20. Yeah, this one takes a little bit longer because it's one of the last skills. It is the last skill within that. So Deceptive for Destructive Clench. In here, you've got Devastate Enemy with an enhanced charge from your staff, dealing 4,385 magic damage. The initial hit always applies the element's status effect. All right, Frost Clench deals less damage, has increased range, you get him from far away, applies a major maim, immobilizes, and taunts the enemy. And you're like, wait, taunts? I'm not a tank. You don't need it. The taunt part of it's not the big thing. The major maim, the immobilization, huge in there. So, and you're in PvP, and so, players aren't going to be taunted about it. So you don't have to worry about it. So you don't want to use this, though, in like your PvE when you've got a tank, because that you'd be, tanking stuff off of that. But you know what? That's kind of a good idea. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Might talk about this in another video. Anywho, Destructive Clench, really good. Then we've got one of our heals in here. I love this. Grow Vines. This is our Leeching Vines. Grow vines to embrace you or the lowest health ally in front of you for 10 seconds. The vines heal the targets, and each time they take damage. This effect can occur once each second. I love this. Basically, you put this on, and if it's just you, boom, someone comes over and starts to try to bash you. Boom, 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 boom. You're going to get healed the whole time through. The vines apply a minor lifesteal to enemies. That the damage target for 10 seconds, healing you and your allies for 720 health. Every 1 second when damaging that enemy. So you damage them, they damage you, you're healing yourself. Wonderful. Our Deep Fisher is back, our heavy hitter. All right, so that's going to be pretty much our main source of big damage. So you want to kind of time that, aim that, and get that along with the Frost Clench in there. And then, of course, if you've got a group of people in there, our Arctic Blast is back, and it's our heal as well. So we've got our heal, we've got our damage over time, and we've got, our stun is back. And you can stun people in PvP. They turn into little icicles for 4 seconds. I love it. It's wonderful. Yeah, or 3 seconds. So, and then our Northern Storm is back. Again, this is going to do damage. It's going to stun. It's going to make it so enemies go around slower. It's going to give you major protection, reducing your damage. And all of your nearby allies as well are going to receive that protection in there. And it's going to buff your spell damage by 300. So yeah, so if you have your Deep Fisher, boom, all ready to go, you pop a Northern Storm, and you've got a frost clench, going off with your master staff, adding another 600, you've just added another 900 damage, 900 spell damage to your build, if you can time it all right. And your Deep Fissure shocks there are going to hit like a truck. So really, really great. So, and that's all you need. Again, I love that it's a 1-bar build because, I get frazzled in PvP, and a lot of us do who aren't the PvP pros. And so it's nice to only have to focus on 1 bar, 5 skills, and the ulti, so you don't get confused. Let's see. Passives. For any of these, you're going to take all the passives. All the passives of Animal Companions, Green Bounce, and Winter's Embrace. Take all the passes in the Destructive Staff. You're now dealing with medium and heavy armor, so take for both of those. We've got nothing into light, so you don't have to put anything into there. Put into your Undaunted and your Racial, and the Alliance War stuff as well. Put stuff into Assault, and put stuff in. You only need the bottom 2 of that. The Magicka one's only if you're going to use something in there. So, yeah. So, there we go. Again, I don't think I'm forgetting anything with this one, but I always, forget something. So, if I have forgotten something in there, let me know about it down below. I will adjust it in the description to reflect whatever changes that we need in there. I can kind of show you some of the skills in here. I love the little wings that come out that speed up our running, which is really good. The vines are really kind of a cool graphic in there. All these other ones. The shocks coming out are Arctic Blast. The Northern Storm one. Probably one that you don't know in there that we haven't done too much is there it is with the Destructive Clench in there. So, yep, and so you're going to go up in your spell damage when the Master Staff procs like that. So, yeah. So, a lot of fun. Staying on theme with this. It's so much fun. It's really, 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 really great. So yeah, let me know if you give this a try down below. Like, comment, subscribe, ding that bell and everything. Thank you again for all of this. And like I said, I made this all for you all because I wanted to update the build so that you had something that was PvP related, so that if you love this build, this Frostygon build as much as I have, now you've got a PvP build to go with your PvE, and you'll be much more tankier, take a few hits, survive a little bit longer, not so squishy, not one sniped in there and one shotted, and you're gonna, I think, enjoy PvP if you haven't done too much of it. So, all right, everybody, thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.